psychologists and people who study human behavior talk a lot about fight versus flight. So when someone is faced with a conflict, when someone is faced with something, we tend to react either in a fight mode or a flight mode. But there's one more mode that I think is actually much more prevalent in our lives today, especially in this expert business. And so I want to talk about that piece. And I'm going to do that by telling you a story. I think I was 16. It was Christmas. I think it was right after I'd moved from learner's permit into a full-scale driver's license. But my family of 8 went down to Arizona to spend time with my grandparents down there, my mother's side. And so on the way back, we're driving up through southern Utah and coming up into central Utah. And I'm driving. It's nighttime. It's foggy. It's snowy. There's probably 2 inches of packed snow on the road. The plows haven't done their job yet. And so everyone's slowed way down, which was just fine with me. We were all 8 of us in a Volkswagen van, which meant we had a total of 5 seat belts. So there were several people who were unseatbelted in this particular van. So I'm driving, and as I'm driving, I'm noticing that over on the side of the road, there are these shapes that are moving, dark shapes that are moving. It's weird. It's a little spooky because, snow's flying, windshield wipers are going, you can just barely see out of the corner of your eye these moving shapes. And all of a sudden I realized there are hundreds of deer right alongside of this freeway, and I'm driving through them. And I'm thinking, this was not covered anywhere in driver's ed. What do you do if a deer steps into the road in front of you? I'm thinking through that process. What would I do when all of a sudden I see right at the edge of my lights a doe and a fawn standing in my lane? Cars to the left of me, maybe a truck, I can't remember. I couldn't change lanes. I hit the brake. I felt a body of one of my family, it turned out it was my dad, hit the back of my seat because Newton's law applies and he wasn't in seatbelts. And I go, clearly I can't stop or I'll kill somebody in my family. But here's the thing. As I looked up, those 2 deer froze with fear. Second later, I hit one of them. Later on, it literally moved that front part of this Volkswagen van in about 4 to 6 inches from hitting this deer. What's the third thing? Fight, flight, frozen with fear. Now, I realize there's natural explanations. They may think it's a giant monster coming down on them, whatever it is. But the last thing you should do when a car is coming at you and you're 50 feet away from it is freeze in front of it. Now, logically, we totally understand that. But logic has very little to do with our natural gut reactions when we are in some kind of a conflict kind of situation. And unfortunately, what I have found in today's world, we've had the fight trained out of us. Flight, we've had that trained out of us too. And so what we tend to do is we freeze in fear. I am convinced that fear is negatively hurting almost every single person's business that I know who is in the entrepreneurial space. My message is that one of the key things that we need to do, the internal, mental, and emotional work we need to do, is that we need to personally identify how we react to fear, how we overcome fear, and build in systems to train ourselves not to freeze. Because of any reaction, that's the worst you can do. So you want to start a business, you haven't got a list yet. You got two choices. You can start putting out some content out there, and maybe even pay for some ads to drive some traffic to that. So hopefully you can build a list. Or you can say, I'm scared that I'm going to fail, and so you do nothing. Or worse yet, I've got a list of 500, 1,000, 20,000 people, and you don't mail it because you're afraid of not succeeding. Or I've got this product that I put together, but I'm afraid to tell anyone about it because they may not buy. That is deer in the headlights, frozen fear. Where is fear impacting you and your life? It may be visible, like the examples that I just gave, or it may be just below the surface. And so you may not even recognize it as fear. You may call it anxiety. You may call it procrastination. You may call it perfectionism. Whatever you call it, it's fear. And it's one of the biggest challenges we have in today's world. I have no solutions. Just the question, what are you doing about your own fear? I'd love to see your answers. Let me know in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.